Representative, welcome back to our off-the-record overtime. Let me ask you, you and I were chatting earlier about politics is really about relationships. Correct my history if I'm wrong here. At one point, did you try to think to head a movement to get Matt Hall out of the leadership post in the Republican House Party?
I haven't. That's no secret. We ran against each other for Speaker, and he won.
So
and I'm glad he is where he is. He's been nothing but impressive to me.
But here's my question: at what point did you wake up one morning and say, "Gee, Matt Hall is just the greatest thing since sliced bread"?
Matt Hall and I have a relationship that goes back probably to 2014 or 15, or maybe a little bit before then. And we've had a great relationship, and we disagreed on things in the early portion of my legislative career. And we get along great now. I'm impressed with him. He knows what he's doing. He's a fighter, and I got his back.
But my question was there a magic moment where you did this flip, or it was a gradual thing as you watched his behavior?
It was a gradual thing as I watched his behavior. Yeah.
I got a question on roads, and obviously there's negotiations hopefully going on. Do you, at any point, would you agree to a compromise? And now you're in leadership as vice chair. Would you agree to a compromise?
A 25% gas tax increase instead of a 50-cent gas tax increase? Absolutely not.
No. How about any revenue increase? Would you sign off on any revenue increase?
Yeah, the revenue increase we're doing right now is we're taking the money that's supposed to go on the roads in the sales tax, we're putting it on the roads instead of going to all these nonprofits.
Would you support the wholesale marijuana tax increase and the vape increase?
The marijuana industry is dead in Michigan, guys. It's being obliterated right now.
Would you support a wholesale tax increase on that?
No, I'm not supporting any tax increases. Let me guys tell you. I want to finish with
the governor has made it very clear. She says no tax increase. We don't have a deal.
Okay, let's talk about tax increases. Okay, let's talk about budgets. Okay, I want to talk about two states. We have two sister states in the United States. Okay, Georgia and North Carolina. We have the same population. Each one of those governments in the state level is still providing the same services we are providing. Okay. And let me tell you something. You're never going to forget this. And listeners, pay close attention here, okay? The state of Georgia, guess how much they spend less than we do on an annual budget, in their annual budget? They spend $20 billion less than we spend in Georgia to run their state government. North Carolina spends $19 billion less than we spend in Michigan.
Is their budget set up the same as ours? In terms of the money flowing to the state, then out to the schools?
You know, we're spending $8,300 for every man, woman, and child to run our state government, okay? There are some states who do it for half.
I've seen you on social media throw these numbers out. You know, a lot of what's been driven up in the budget is expanding health care coverage. Are you going to cut that?
No, President Trump's going to cut all the freeloaders off. You know, I have an interesting perspective as a bail bondsman because I know every scam. I've been doing this for a long time. I know every single scam in the book, okay? I have people show me how they scam the system, okay? When we started Medicaid, we started with 2 million people on Medicaid, okay? Now we have over 50 million people on Medicaid since 1974, whatever year it started, okay? That is unacceptable. We have plenty of people, millions of people in this nation, and hundreds of thousands of people in this state who are gaming the system. They're freeloading, okay? Everyone knows someone who's on SSI.
Who should get Medicaid
not a thing wrong. People who need it, not people who...
What does that mean? People who need it.
Yeah, okay. Like the guy I was campaigning in Walled Lake or Commerce a couple years ago, and this guy's unloading his 4-year-old child out of the back of his van. The kid can't move or can't do anything. And I said, you know, I'm just curious, what kind of benefits do you get from the state? This guy gets only like $1,100 for his kid. People like that should be making like $5,000 a month for their kid. We got all these freeloaders, people that choose not to work, who are getting the benefits and jeopardizing the whole system for the people that need it.
Would you be in favor of undoing Medicaid expansion?
Yeah.
If it was up to you, you would undo that program.
The big beautiful bill includes work requirements, and I think that's perfect. We have all these freeloaders. There are so many scams, you guys. That I wish we could have a whole show talking about all these scams about taxpayer dollars.
Because Florida, help me through this. Florida actually did try to put in work requirements, right? And what they found actually was that the administrative costs outweigh, like how much
the leftists are always going to have an excuse to keep more people on welfare.
This is like Republican Florida. I'm really trying to understand this. I'm like, help me understand this, that it was like something like $75 million more was spent in just sort of the administration of trying to figure out than the actual people that they got.
Florida and California. Let's talk about the SNAP card benefits, okay?
No, can we just take a stay on one topic for just one second? I really want to.
We're talking about fraud. We're talking about Medicaid fraud.
the work requirements issue, like how do you get past the amount of money it takes to administer some of these things? And then what they find is just the number of people that you're talking about, like absolutely that there's fraud, like 100% that they find fraud. There's fraud in Michigan, but what they notice is it doesn't outweigh the actual costs.
Maybe the initial cost of weeding out all the bad actors in the system, there may be a high additional cost, but over time, there's no way that the cost is going to outweigh the benefits of getting all these fraudsters off the system.
That's what they found in Florida, a Republican state.
Well, I'm willing to do anything to get all these freeloaders off because I know what kind of people they are. They're horrible people.
Representative,
the reason Social Security is not going. The reason Social Security is going broke is not because of all the working people that are on benefits. It's all these freeloaders. They're going to crash the entire system. President Trump knows that.
Funding. What about an increase in registration fees for EVs?
No increases.
Even for EV registration?
You guys, there is so much waste in our budget.
Okay. I just thought Matt Hall or another Republican was talking about
there may be
EV registration
There may be
fees.
There may be some negotiation in that arena because the Democrats want to increase it. They want to do a 50-cent per gallon gas tax increase. It's not going to happen. But we're going to have to come somewhere in the middle to make it work, right?
But if you're not willing to go in the middle, then how do you get an agreement?
That's me personally. I don't know if leadership's going to. I mean, leadership will probably.
So you don't want to be part of the deal. You don't want to provide a yes vote.
I might.
Well, on what would you might vote?
I'm not crazy about voting for any tax increases. That's for sure.
Is there some revenue increase that you could hold your nose and do it? Vote yes.
Well, maybe we'll see.
Now, come on, play the game with me.
I have.
Why did you lean back and smile?
Because if you know what I know about how much fraud, waste, and abuse, and how many scams,
the budget's $83 billion around.
Yeah,
name a program that you're going to cut.
You know what the budget should be.
Can you name one No, I understand the numbers. Can you name a line item that this is gone?
Let's talk about the people. Here's one for you. We've spent tens of millions of dollars in Michigan, okay, money that should go into classrooms for kids. We've spent that money on recess monitors, training recess monitors. There's a nonprofit group that we spend money on. I think there's $1 million in the budget this year to train recess monitors for our schools. That is a waste of money, and we're going to cut that. You know what?
Why is that a waste of money? I mean, I have no idea what that program is.
It's a scam. It goes to
people monitor kids at elementary schools.
No, the money goes to a nonprofit run by a bunch of leftist communists. Okay, they keep 80% of the money.
So you'd rather just go to the schools?
Yeah. How about this?
But that's not saving money.
Let me tell you. Here's some inside information. No one knows about this. Okay, we spend between $5 to $7 million maintaining a fleet of aircraft in Michigan. Very nice aircraft, private hangars. We have our own private maintenance crews and mechanics and avionics people and all the staff to run these aircraft, all right? Guess how many pilots we have to fly the aircraft to Michigan? 2. None. Oh. We have no pilots in Michigan. We haven't had a pilot to run any one of our state aircraft for 6 months.
But I suppose,
and we're still spending.
Don't they call one when they need one?
No, there is no one. We have no one to fly right now.
So how are these planes flying around? Because they are. I mean, the governor uses the plane every once in a while. They're lawmakers.
The governor hasn't used the plane. We have not had a pilot in 6 months, guys.
6. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to get back to your Georgia and North Carolina thing. So obviously you've looked at the budgets in Georgia and North Carolina. What are we spending money on here in Michigan that they're not spending money on in Georgia and North Carolina?
You know what the first answer is? People say, "Well, they don't have the freezing and thawing in their roads." Okay, they have to air condition their classrooms. You know, I'm not getting it in the weeds. I'm a big picture guy. I don't know all those details. I don't have the time to look at all these differences. But the thing I know is these states who have 10 million people are spending $20 and $19 billion less than we're spending, and they're still providing the same government services.
Maybe their local governments are taxing more than our local governments. Could that be a possibility?
Yeah, all these states have lower property taxes than Michigan. That's BS.
Okay, I'm just throwing out theories.
Their property taxes are one third of our property taxes. I have looked that far into their budgets.
Well, then there's got to be a reason. There's got to be something we're spending money on that they're not.
They don't have a full-time legislature. They don't have a bureaucracy that
a couple million.
They don't have as many state employees as we have. They don't have they don't have teachers retiring in the state at 40, making $200,000 a year. There's a lot of
Maddock,
things.
Who is your candidate for governor in 2026 here in Michigan?
I like all the candidates so far. They're all
You're going to have to vote
friends.
for one in the primary.
I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to support. I mean,
Why not?
We'll see who gets. Because I like all of them. Because I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I'm going to fight for all of them.
We got to vote for one of them.
You're right, but they're all going to have a great message, and they're all going to have a great message when they're.
Was it
campaigning.
smart for John James to run for governor, or should have stayed in his congressional
You know what?
race?
I got President Trump's back, and I think he should stay out of the governor race and stick it out in the House.
Is there some chance that he might decide to not like?
I think it'd be.
Are
very,
you hearing that?
I think it'd be very foolish of him at this point to run for governor.
Do you think it's
Well, wait, he already is.
John James.
Right. So you think he should go back and run for Congress?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's selfish for him to run?
I love John James. He's a great guy, but I think we need to. I think he's more value. He serves more value to his constituents and the nation if he keeps that seat.
And President Trump and Vice President Vance, they were really pushing hard. Like they're not happy with him.
No, they're not. They're not happy with him right now.
Is it selfish for him to run?
I wouldn't consider it selfish.
What's the
He's a very smart
What's the
man.
adjective you'd use?
To running for governor? Mm-hmm. I think he'd be a great governor if he ran for governor.
No.
But I think he's
the fact that he's basically, if he stays in, what is he doing to the party?
He's disappointing the President Trump, number one, and he is a great member of Congress, and I think he needs to stay there. And that seat's too valuable to jeopardize losing.
What about the fourth? What about Heisinga's seat? Should he stay in Congress rather than run for Senate?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that seat is. I mean, it's not a 50-50 seat, so I don't think that really matters much what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Are we done?
That's all you guys got for Maddock?
Do you think the field then for governor is set on the Republican side, or do you expect more people to get in?
I wouldn't necessarily count Perry Johnson out. I think he's a possibility, but I think things are firming up right now. You know.
Do you think Mike Duggan can win this thing?
Mike Duggan's a Democrat. He's a hardcore Democrat, and I don't think he's going to win. No, absolutely not.
Are you really now supporting John James? I mean, you just criticized him running for governor. Are you saying you're not going to endorse?
I'm not criticizing him running.
If President Trump calls you up and says, "Hey, I'm endorsing John James," you're not going to fall in line.
That's not going to happen.
Trump will not endorse John James.
No.
How do you know that?
Because President Trump wants John James to stay in Congress.
How do you know that?
I know a lot of things.
You won't tell us how?
So do you think that Trump is going to stay out of endorsing in the governor's race in Michigan?
Very likely, yes.
Okay.
Well, if he wants to send John James a message, he'll endorse somebody else.
I think President Trump's going to stay out of the governor's race in Michigan.
All right, what do you want to be when you grow up?
A fireman.
That was a quick answer.
The job was just cut because of
Right
budget
on the
cuts.
tip of his tongue.
You know, I've been a bondsman.
Yeah, right. Isn't that socialism or communism? Fireman?
I've been a bail bondsman for 35 years, and it's been a very rewarding career. And I love doing it. We meet the greatest people, and the most fascinating thing about what I do as a bail bondsman is seeing people turn their lives around. It is something I don't talk about often, but it's very touching. Just to get calls from a mother or a grandmother saying that, you know, I just cannot tell you how much I appreciate you guys helping us and talking. You know, a lot of times, especially in my earlier days, I would spend a lot of time after this person get out of jail, you know, mentoring them and coaching them and giving them advice and that kind of stuff. And to get calls from people, you know, 3 or 4 years later after we got them out of jail when they're in a bad place in their life, to have them give me a call, you know, those are the things that mean a lot to me.
Representative, thanks for showing up.
Pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. Always fun to work with you.